Before every class, you must look up the question. Okay?
I think the two more introductions.
Sorry? Oh, Anjali is you. Okay. Anjali walked in later. Yes, Anjali. So why did you take up the course? That was the question.
Yeah, so before joining MBA, a few of my friends were already part of the course. I saw their status at days where they were doing field work and going to the streets. And
That looked like fun.
yeah, that looked fun to me. And then when I interacted with them, they mentioned that that's where they actually something happens.
Yes.
So I thought probably I should take one course before I finish my MBA on the same.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing.
You are Lara.
Yes, Germany. I am doing a small one. And I also have some experience report about this course. I recommended it because they all said.
Was there anybody from your B-school before on this
Yes.
course? Okay. I get it. Okay. Before I proceed, so basically that's that. So everything gets videoed. So this today is not going to be so important. But as you go along, a lot of your course material is actually the video. You must remember, it's like fresh material which is not available anywhere else. Let me tell you some of the things, some of the unique things that have happened in this course. But before I do, let me just introduce myself and tell you what is different or the same about me. So these are the other faculty. I am basically an engineering graduate from this city. I went to a place called Jadavpur University, very well known for its political activities nowadays, but it used to be and probably still is one of the better universities of the country. I did engineering there, for which it was well known, 5 years, and then I worked as an engineer for 3 years, again in this city doing design. Then after that I went to a business school many of you might have heard of, called INSEAD. At that point in time, it was only one campus, so I went to the Fontainebleau campus. This is ages ago, 35 years ago. So I did my MBA there, and the two courses that I today teach, I must confess, neither of them were even remotely touched. So in 1984, there was no ethics course in INSEAD, and thereafter, there was nothing about social business and whatever. Thereafter, I worked from the following year with Philips in the Netherlands, doing strategy in the lighting division, and I helped in their strategy of acquisition of Westinghouse in the United States. So that was what I was busy with. And 3 years down the line, I came back to India to prepare what was then called the credibility plan, essentially the turnaround plan for Philips India, which is what I did. After that, I headed up television marketing for Philips in India. I was the person who introduced jewelry in Titan, so Tanishq and whatever. So I was the first person who started it as a marketing controller. And then I moved to a company called Shaw Wallace, and the two things that I think I did, or 2 or 3 things, I introduced 2 brands that are still available. One in whiskey called Antiquity, and those of you who live in India would have heard about that, and one called White Mischief, which is a vodka. And then the other thing I did was I moved to their electronics division. I was the guy who brought Sega, the games company, to India. And I also, we were also doing Aiwa, which has since been merged with Sony. Thereafter, I worked with a company called Polaroid, which is an American company, as their marketing head in South Asia. And then, for personal reasons, very similar to Sanjana's, my parents were with a kind of NGO, and my mother was doing it almost single-handedly. My father was much older, and she died of cancer in 1999. So I took this decision of leaving corporate life and coming down and into the city. And therefore, quite accidentally, I was invited by the Management Center for Human Values the following year, that's 19 years ago, year 2000, to come and teach. So that's how I started teaching human values, then it became became CSR, became business ethics, and then since I was doing this kind of work, I thought best that I would start first with a management development program for NGOs, because NGOs were looking at some inputs that might help them structure more. And then over a period of time I realized that, given everything else, this was best brought into the PGP. So that's a little bit about me. Okay, so for the last 20 odd years I work only in the social sector. I also have done corporate training in various parts of the world, notably in France, and with French companies in India. But my major thing has been in the social sector. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. Now let me talk a little bit about the course material. So you have a book, but the book is not really important. As you would have discovered, those who did the course with me last year, the book is a takeaway. The book is something that is left behind when everything gets over. The book is not a kind of volume that you have to read as you do the course. So if you've got it, well and good. If you're interested, well and good. If right now you don't have the time, don't worry. We know there's one thing that is precious to all of you, which is time. So reading the book is not all that important. This, however, is. So this is the readings copy. This is the cases. And for every session, we will ask you to read up something. Not maybe the first few sessions. So it will help you understand. It may not be absolutely a one-on-one thing between the reading and the case, but nevertheless it will give you inputs, like you would have seen in business ethics. So it was not 100% correlation, but there is a fair amount of correlation. The cases are things that we will actually also learn through. How do we learn about NGOs? The first learning is from these cases. Many of these are Harvard or similar Darwin cases. So therefore they have a style of writing which is familiar to most of you because you are in a B school. So therefore it's not written by anybody. So therefore it's written well, the courses, the cases. So that's one way that you will actually learn about NGOs. There are several other ways, and let me tell you, this course will divide itself broadly in 3 parts. But let's say let's say the first part. The first part is, and that's where I'm a little concerned about my friend there. What's your name once again? In the blue kurta? You are, I forget your name. Yes, Nigdashuti, yes. Nigdashuti, so therefore I'm a little concerned about you because you've done this other course with Professor Devi Vijay. But nevertheless, so you need to listen in as to all of you as to the structure of how we do the course. First few classes will just be exploring the world of NGOs. Today, in fact, is the last day. The first day that you see me, and the last day you see me alone. From tomorrow, there will be NGOs on stage. There will be NGOs talking to you. So they will narrate what is unique about their work. Alright? First couple of classes will be intense. Intense meaning, how did they get into it? What prodded them to get into it? What is the motivation? So it's almost that kind of thing. Almost, because it's not always possible to have just one NGO, but then we actually do a sectoral overview. Various sectors where NGOs operate. And then you'll find out each NGO works very differently from the other. Each NGO's world is very different. Yes, so there's no such thing called an NGO meet. This is one of the first things I realized when I used to do a management development program for NGOs, that NGOs are as wide apart as Belgium is from India. In their way, their outlook, the way they approach the problem, the way, the sector they operate in, it's a world in itself. So we'll explore that world, and at that stage we'll do several NGOs per day. Okay? So you'll get a sectoral exposure. In the meanwhile, and starting today or tomorrow, I will give you a list of a number of projects which are mainly sourced from the NGOs who visit us. So you'll get a chance to meet them also. Okay? And in case some of you feel that your interest or you want to work with somebody else somewhere, I don't have an issue. Except I have one caveat, it cannot be your own NGO. There have been instances in the past where there have been students who've actually been running NGOs before they came to the course. I say sorry, because then you are going to tell me what you've learned over the past 6 or 7 years, and it's unfair to the others. So even they need to work in a different NGO. But none of you, that's one of the things I was probing, whether you already have an NGO. Working in an NGO is one thing, having an NGO is another. Doing a project with an NGO is one thing, and this is completely different, because I have to provide a level playing field, because I said that live project is the one that carries the highest weightage. So therefore, if I would give somebody that unfair advantage, then it would be wrong. So that's the only caveat I have. So you can choose from this basket of assignments that are sourced from these various NGOs who will be seeing you. So this is part 1. This whole composite, if you will, is part 1 of the course, which is essentially understanding what moves this world and who are these guys and how are they different from one another. Okay. This will take, I think, the best part of this month. It's a long thing. Towards the end of the month, what we'll start doing, and you can figure out when you see, after a few classes, quite a few classes are gone, we will do topics. That means, let's say topic could be social innovation. And there would be a reading, there would be a case. By that time, you've got familiar with this world. So you know that they are not, it's not like going to a zoo. These are normal people, they have normal aspirations, and you can understand that. But you then start applying whatever you have learned in your different courses. So the structure in section 2 or part 2 of this course is, there's a topic, say social innovation. It could be anything, social innovation or whatever. And in that thing, there would be a case, which is there part of this case book. I would divide you into groups. So the group will make a presentation. Who will judge that presentation? Not me. I may be consulted, but I won't judge that presentation. That presentation will be judged by somebody who's actually working on the ground on that. So another person who's doing social innovation will actually listen to your presentation and grade you, and tell you and give you feedback of where you went right and where you went wrong. And that's also a very important insight, because it's a practitioner who does it, and a practitioner who's doing specifically that thing. Alright? Then what they will be doing is showcasing their own organization. And then you, another group, would be required to make a study on the basis of what that gentleman or lady told you, and preparing a presentation, an analysis, which would be sent to him for another judgment. Okay? So this is the way we will cover all the theoretical topics that we will in section 2. And then there will be finally, on the basis of this, in the meanwhile, you would have chosen your topic from the assignments, and you will get introduced to the NGO, and you will actually start working with that NGO. Okay? Now, the way it works is that you will find there are probably a group of people doing various things with that NGO. Okay? My friend Nelson, can we have one conversation, please? So you will find there are a few people working with that same NGO, but doing something else. So it might just help if you schedule a visit together, because NGOs are also busy people, you will figure out very soon that even small NGOs who come to you, and you meet one person like that exactly Thursday next week, he's never in Calcutta for more than a few days. He's either in Sweden or in Australia or in Panama or some part of the world, or in Macau. He's always traveling. Because one of the things NGOs have to do is they have to lobby for advocacy and for money. So they're always traveling, the apex people. And the second line is always looking for guidance from the top. So therefore they want to see you, if many of you choose the same NGO, even if you are doing different things, one common date or common dates when you go and see them, understand them, work with them, whatever. So there is some logistics involved. Why do I mention this logistics part? Are there any people from Calcutta, from this city, here in this class? Oh, okay. You know where Narendrapur is, right? Narendrapur is not all that far. Maybe about what? 20 kilometers from here? Not even maybe. 15. So, Ramakrishna Mission. I remember this must be from about 10 years ago. And this was the time where Indians were few and exchange students were more. So there was this group only of exchange students who had to go there for a project. So what did they do? They took a cab from the cab stand here. Those days there was no Uber, there was no Ola. So they took a cab from here. Then that NGO started. Ramakrishna Mission is a very, very large organization. So they didn't land up at the time whatever specified. And so the guy started calling me, where are your students? And I couldn't figure out where my students were. And then suddenly I got a call from a cab driver. And what I understood was that that guy, the cab driver, had taken these people on a merry-go-round of the whole city. Okay? So instead of going to Narendrapur, they were getting a joyride of what Calcutta has to offer, without any commentary. That means the guy was actually fleecing them and asking for more money. So all kinds of things happen, okay? Because most NGOs will not operate in the main city. So as you go out, you have all kinds of issues. Since then, I've made a rule that when you visit an NGO, particularly to do field work, try to have Indians and the exchange in one group. Okay? It helps both ways. Now let me say the other side of the story. And I'll say it very bluntly, please don't mind. Overall observation, it might be very different for this particular batch of students. Overall observation is exchange students are far more serious in their field work than IIM students are. IIM students write about a lot of theory, but they are shallow when it comes to actual analysis of things they've seen. So they try to do a shortcut, which is not right. So when you see the weightage of the course, you will see that IIM students will score more on quiz because that's a structure they are very familiar with, maybe more in the group presentation, but they are not so good in the actual analysis of a live project. So I'd like to see that change. Okay? Now, the last bit that I have to say is for the quiz, okay, or for the presentation, English language skills are not paramount. I need to say that to exchange students. Many of you are from France. If, for instance, your writing English is not like Indians are, for that reason you will not get less grades. If for some reason you feel comfortable writing French, I don't have an issue. I can't say the same for the Germans because my understanding of German is very old and I forgot. But with French I can cope. So in case, this is just a write-up. It will be fine if you write in English, but if you have a problem with speed, because that happens in quiz. I've seen that, so I'm telling you on the very first day. Many exchange students come and say, I couldn't finish the paper. So you lose marks for no reason. So if English is the issue why you couldn't finish the paper, I allow you to write in French. It's not a problem. Okay? Okay, then that's taken care of. So therefore, you've got a hang of what happens. The last section of the course is you will have, after the quiz, you will have a guest faculty. Okay, he teaches marketing. So because this course by then might seem to some people to be going all over the place and too little theory, so I decided to get a pure academic who takes 4 classes with you, so that for those people who feel that we are shy on theory, he'll do stuff. Okay? It will not help you in your evaluation because that's not part of the quiz. He doesn't correct papers. But it will give you a flavor that, we just kind of went on a whole Disneyland tour and didn't have a structure to it. So this is one thing I'd like to say about the course structure. Exact marks and weightages I'll come to, because that will be my last slide. Again, in the shopping week many years ago, what I discovered was, once you tell people, I've already shared, you've already discovered there's no end term and mid term. Once you share what the weightages are, the students want to get up and leave the class. It's finished. The course is as good as over. Okay, so I keep that for the last slide for the first class, because then I'll lose you completely. Till I come there'll be some suspense. Okay. Yes, yeah.
When you say that you write in French,
Yes.
please, the questions will be in English.
Questions will be in English. The questions will be in English. When I was in INSEAD, I remember I did finance courses in French. The questions were in French, but I wrote in English. So that's the way. The reverse is the case. There will be one question there. But it's only if you are uncomfortable. I'm not forcing you to write in French. What I see, I've told you 2 issues. That Indians are very insincere when it comes to the project, and the exchange students find themselves short on time when it comes to the quiz. There's another thing about the quiz I'd like to tell everybody. Because most of you, and I'm saying this to the Indians now, most of you have cleared, objective type questions for a very long time. So I've seen that people write more for a 3-mark question than they write for a 10-mark question. I would think it's basic that you see how much marks are there for the question and you will write accordingly. You will not write 1 page for a 3-mark question and 3 lines for a 10-mark question. But apparently in IIM Calcutta, we don't seem to know that. So this has been not only in this course but in other courses also. So to everybody, my point is, look at the time and time yourself. Yes, you will not find all the time in the world to write about everything. But time yourself. It's a pity if you do not have time to write the answer. But it has happened time and again. So I want to tell you, read the questions well. And there's another thing, there is nothing from the book. There's nothing that you can memorize. So therefore, it's easy in a sense to write about it, provided you've seen the courseware, provided you've seen the presentations, and most importantly, provided you've attended the classes. If you've attended classes, you have learned everything there is to learn in this course. But if you don't come to class and you depend on something else, and you start browsing through videos on the quiz day, then obviously you will not finish. So these are all the various issues I'm telling you on day 1. I hope that it's a different pattern this time. Okay, now the kind of people who have done the course, I think that's important. People who've done assignments with NGOs, I've known that they've continued to work with those NGOs for many years after that. There have been people who worked even 10 years for a particular NGO after they came to know them in this course. So you also create bonds. Sometimes if you're lucky, sometimes it doesn't gel, you give it over, the NGO says goodbye, you say goodbye, and that's over. Some people, because you see, and I'm telling you up front, NGOs have different issues. One of the biggest issues of NGOs is raising money. But I make it very clear, and I want to tell you also, if NGOs give you hints, help us raise money, that's not your job. You are not expected to put money in an envelope and give it to them. Okay? You can definitely help design a promotion program. You can design a website for them which helps them raise funds. But we are not expecting you to really go from person to person, from all the people in your promotion, in your batch, to say, give me some money and I want to help this NGO. Because I remember in the very early years, suddenly a group of students approached me and said, let's do an exhibition to sell the products of this NGO in the Joka campus. And that became a project. I said, sorry, that's not your project. I can't evaluate you on that, because if the director and dean come to know, what will they think? This is not what it's all about. Having said that, many people, after finishing the course, because they have become very fond of that NGO, they kind of support them, they help them, they go back to Europe or wherever, and they spread the word to them or introduce that NGO to them. So these are things that have happened. The other thing that has happened is people who come here. Now let me talk about the NGOs who come here. The NGOs who come here have largely profited. Some NGOs are there who have been with us for all the years that we have been running the course. What do they gain? Now that's very important for you to understand. All NGOs come because the assignments you do for them, they hope that some of you will sign up with them, with their projects. If not, bad luck. They hope for better times. But they hope that you will sign on. If you sign on and do something for them, it's not something that they need to pay for. They consider you extremely brilliant. They consider you people who can really, help them out. In that sense, this course is very important, because you go to a big company, you do a project for that company, even as an intern. You have no means of knowing what they do with that project. They might, for all you know, the day you come back, after the evaluation is over, it goes to the trash can. NGOs, if you work well for them, take you seriously. And they implement what you have suggested. And many years later, you will be very happy to remember that the project report you made actually yielded positive results the very year that you kind of worked for them. So this is another very significant thing that happens. I will then tell you about one organization. Otherwise it will become very boring for you. But I'll tell you about one organization, maybe you know about it, in India at least. How many of you have heard about Bandhan Bank? So almost all the Indians here know. The founder of Bandhan will be here. Okay? And it's a unique thing. He came for the first time, the course was launched in PGP. And every year I marvel that the man is so busy. He runs a bank today, and it's one of the highest market capitalizations. It's a unique model. How he knows the who's who of India. How does he find time to come and take a class in this course? I feel very humbled, but he still does. I don't know where he sees value, but he still does. This is one of the last classes in the term, but he does. But what you will find is people who come here, they know the structure. They know what to expect. So in that sense, they are also experienced. And they come here because they feel that there is something which you can still contribute to them. And I'm taking a specific example. A man who's probably the biggest, if I would use the expression, the most important corporate in Bengal today. So he comes personally. So he's a man, his stature is, he could come and give an institute lecture. But he comes and takes an hour's class. So I find that it's all about relationships. So what you find in this course is you build new relationships. Relationships of several kinds. You bond with NGOs, you understand their kind of work, and the other thing that happens is you also bond between yourselves. Sometimes people who didn't know each other from before, working in a project, go on to build NGOs themselves. This has happened. People have actually